Hello, America, and everybody else in the world. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Corey Has a Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Easley, and it is wintertime. It's officially cold. I don't know it's cold until I get home to my apartment where I can't control the heat because it's just one of those fucking buildings where you pay too much rent. You pay rent that doesn't make sense to not be able to control the heat, but they don't give a shit about that. They turn it on whenever they want. It's boiling hot in the middle of the night. You wake up in the morning. It's cold. You know exactly how it feels outside because you feel like that in the apartment. But what happens is somehow you just get acclimated to the winter, and then you take a shower, you come out. It's almost like you went to take a shower in an outhouse of a cabin where you come out butt fucking naked. Right? You feel the cold winter air, and then you put your clothes on, and you're ready. You're ready to go for the day. So, big shout out to New York City for fucking charging way too much money for rent and making you deal with that kind of bullshit. Because I guess it makes you tougher, right? At what point in life are you gonna just be like, yo, can I just stop having to deal with bullshit? Some people don't. Some people do. It depends on, at least this kind of bullshit. It just depends on, I guess, where you are in your life, right? There's been a lot of things that I've been really happy that are going really well. I've been, workouts are feeling good again. Minimal wrist pain, which is nice. I discovered that I can do a handstand push-up, which is cool. I also discovered that I was doing them in a way where it looked like I was intentionally trying to break my fucking neck if I failed. But honestly, it's a win. It's a win, you know? Starting to achieve things that I never really thought I could or would even give a shit about doing. Like, it's nice. Yeah. So there's been a couple of times here and there where I've mentioned subtitles. And how I just don't really like watching movies that I have to read or watching anything on TV that I have to read, right? Which is funny. Like, my reason used to be I just don't like subtitles because, especially subtitles on shit where they're speaking the language that I fucking understand most, which is English. Like, why would I have subtitles on? My hearing is fine. And when the subtitles are on, I'm just staring at the words on the bottom of the screen the whole time, not necessarily watching it. But if the shit's in another language, I will just typically just not watch the shit because this is the main reason I realized why I would avoid things like that. And it's because I like to have the option of looking away, moving around the room, not paying attention for a second, but still hearing what's going on. And if I don't understand the language, then it's hard to follow. You miss shit, right? You got to be kind of like glued to the screen if it's in a language you don't understand and there's subtitles. Now, lately, I've been watching shit. I've been watching Dragon Ball GT, which is an anime where they only have the fucking Japanese version on Hulu, and I'm reading the whole goddamn thing. And I'll tell you what. I guess I'm okay with it because I just love the characters and I'm really curious to just know what happened in this storyline, which is not necessarily canon for anybody who gives a shit, but it's just fun. It's just a fun little side story to watch, and it's actually been pretty cool. It's funny when you watch the shit, the people that you care about and the planet Earth, and it just seems like everything's gonna go to shit, and somehow good prevails over evil. And it's just nice. It's a nice story. And you hope that happens in your everyday life, right? You hope that when stuff is getting tough, right? And things just seem kind of hopeless, that like at some point, just the shit that you would prefer to happen and the goodness is going to prevail, right? So we pray and we try to manifest and we look online to, find some kind of positivity and, whatever you got to do. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have hope. I think hope is cool, right? Can't live on hopes, but they're good. But yeah, subtitles. I still refuse to do subtitles, but I realized too. I also was talking to my boy about this. I'm like, you know what? I can do subtitles if it's an anime, or if it's like an Asian kind of situation where it's like martial arts, right? I think that's cool. It's harder for me to get into anything else with subtitles. Like, for some reason, if it was made in France, probably not going to watch it. If it was made in, mostly just France. I don't know. But if it was made in Japan, I'm interested. I don't know why. You know, remember when Gwen Stefani was just so specifically interested in Japan? Right? That was cool. I wonder how people would feel about that now, even though I thought it was kind of cool that she kind of put a spotlight on a bunch of motherfuckers that we weren't necessarily paying attention to here in America. I think it's cool when when people open your eyes and show you shit. I remember like when I was a kid and I was watching Jackass and Viva La Bam, and I remember Bam Margera was showcasing all these bands from Europe that motherfuckers didn't really know about in the USA. And like, I always think that's cool, that crossover. Kind of just like broadens your horizons a little bit, you know, because you go travel to other places and you realize that everybody is kind of you can relate to people because people are just the same everywhere you go. I think Tom Segura has a joke where he talks about going to places and traveling. He's like, just imagine what a place is, and you're right, it's exactly like that. You know, if you've lived anywhere, and it's funny because like anytime I go somewhere, like New York is always obviously going to feel like home to me because I grew up here and I've lived here my whole life, and I've been running up and down these fucking streets as long as my mom would allow me to take the fucking train by myself, right? And run around, you know, with my friends and ride around on bikes and come into the city. Because when you live in the Bronx and you live in the outer boroughs or whatever, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I know we called coming into Manhattan going into the city. I'm coming down into the city. And even now, like if I talk to like my mom or some shit, she's like, oh, I got to come into the city because it's da-da-da-da. Although from an outsider's perspective, New York City, or just in general, realistically, New York City is the 5 boroughs of New York City, right? So New York City is the Bronx. New York City is Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, right? Manhattan, obviously. You know, but we just refer to it as the city because this is where all the shit is happening. But when you go somewhere else, right, no matter where it is, it's just either like kind of like if it's a city to me, because I grew up here in New York, I'm always like, this city is kind of like a bullshit wannabe version of what a city feels like to me. But it's okay. Like I think Atlanta is an okay city, right? I think Chicago is pretty, but it still doesn't necessarily feel like a city to me, apart from the fact that it has a really beautiful skyline. Like Chicago is a beautiful city. It just feels a little bit different, you know? But Chicago is honestly probably the closest place I'd been to outside of my home of NYC that I felt like, this is kind of cool. This is kind of close. The thing I like about Chicago the most is that the trash is not right on the sidewalk. They like stick it in the fucking alleyway so nobody has to see it or smell it or deal with it, right? Because why the fuck? Like, if you're hanging out in an alley, then that's on you. That's your fucking problem, right? I hate the garbage. I hate the trash. One thing that bothers me like crazy was when I'm walking, I see a trash receptacle and then I see like litter all over the fucking street. It actually drives me up a wall. It pisses me off. And it's only because, well, number one, I just like shit to be neat. I like shit to be in order. I don't like a mess. I don't like rats just fucking hanging out. I don't hate rats. I just don't feel like they should just be like they need to be in the park or in a field somewhere. I don't want to fucking just like see a rat standing on the corner smoking a cigarette, selling weed to the kids. You know what I mean? I want to see I want the city to be nice and clean. But there's people that just don't care. They don't value anything. And that's why we can't have nice things. You know, sometimes I walk around, I see a city bike. For those of you who listen to my show who may be in Europe or something, because according to Spotify Wrapped, there's motherfuckers in other countries that hear me talking this American shit, and they're probably like, well, what the hell is that? Or maybe we had that the whole time. I don't know why you guys didn't get it yet in America. What's up, America? Catch up, right? But which is actually kind of interesting because, like, I've been to Italy, and you go to Italy, and there's parts of it where you're like, damn, like, this shit feels like fucking like I went back in time. You know what I mean? In terms of what kind of technology is just available at your disposal. Like, we're really lucky here in a lot of ways. You know, you go somewhere like you go to South America and you go to a country that's maybe like a third world country in the Caribbean, and things are a lot different. You know, I don't think things are better. I think whatever you grow up around and whatever you're exposed to, you just learn to appreciate it for what it is. And you go somewhere else and it's different than where you live. And it's kind of like a treat, right? Like, it's like, this is a little bit of a treat. This is a vacation. This is a vacation from my everyday life, right? So if you are from a third world country and you come somewhere like America, if you even have the opportunity to do such a thing, you're probably like, holy shit, I want to move here, right? You live in a big city in the USA, and you go to fucking, you know, Cuba or some shit like that, where the government is run totally differently and everything, and money is worth a different value. You know, like you feel it, you notice it. You know, you feel like a fucking baller over there. But it's like, do I want to live here? You know what I mean? I don't know. But there's people all over the world. There's kids that want to play and have fun, and there's adults that got to fucking work and take care of their families. And that shit is true all over the place. That's why music is always going to be successful if it's about love, because people need that kind of shit in their lives. You see that jump I just made? You don't even know how I got there. But it doesn't matter, you know? I kind of have been thinking about what I want to do with this podcast, right? There's a new year coming up. What am I doing? Why do I still do this? Every week I'm sitting here and I'm in my little studio, aka my apartment, which is actually not a studio apartment, funny enough. And I'm sitting in here and I'm just like, why do I do this? Why do I continue to do this? And it's interesting because when you listen to other podcasts, right, especially podcasts that have a guest on them, you got two people or however other many people that they have on their show. And they're going back and forth. They're riffing. They're having a conversation. You feed off the energy. If you're not feeling it in the beginning, you might start feeling it. You might disagree on something. People love hearing people argue, or people think hearing people argue is boring. You might hear people just really fucking agree with each other and agree with each other enough maybe to start a fucking cult where they just take over the world together. And that's cool too, right? I suppose, if you're into that sort of thing. But it's a lot more difficult when you're alone. And I go off the top of the dome, right? Like, I don't have notes in front of me. I remember like 5 to 6 episodes in, like somewhere around there, I like would, for the first 5, I would like write down some bullet points. And I found myself kind of like looking over, like glancing over at the notes. And I felt this pressure to just keep the air from being dead air, right? Like, nobody likes dead air. Sitting down listening to somebody take a fucking deep breath before they start thinking about what they're going to say. Like, no, right? And so you kind of just get to this rhythm of like manufacturing a product like straight off the top of the dome all the time. It's an interesting thing. It's like, and you, in my mind, I'm like, this is kind of, you never know, right? You never know what's going to happen. You never know what the episode's going to turn into. You never know what I'm even going to name the episode, right? I could name this episode Mr. Krabs for no fucking reason, just because I want to, because it's my show, right? I don't have to discuss that with anyone. But there's so many good shows out there with one person. I think Bill Burr, obviously, like I may have said this before, but it's probably been a while, is not only one of my favorite comedians, but I love that he does his podcast where it's just him. And he might be Googling shit, which kind of like made me feel like it gives license. It's giving me license to do the same thing when I don't know what I'm doing. I'll go look something up straight up on the show. Like, what the fuck does that mean, right? You have these personal, intimate moments, right? This year was just kind of like a really crazy year for me in terms of things that have happened in my life. I've gone through the biggest breakup I've ever gone through in my entire life. I have been dealing with trying to establish myself in my career. I have been dealing with trying to become better mentally and physically and become an athlete while becoming a better coach and just diving into what I really do and just kind of make it all encompassing in my life. Like, these are things, right? And occasionally I'll share a little bit, and occasionally I'll just go off on a fucking tirade where I'm just indirectly having what seems to be a bad day on the microphone, where I'm just I'm just dropping the word cunt because I can, and not necessarily because I want to, but maybe because I'm just trying to be a prick. But it's like, I want to first of all say thank you all for being on this journey with me and bearing with me, because I'll be going through shit and not tell anybody, just go on this podcast and act like an asshole. And I'm not saying that I'm going through anything right now. I feel I'm in a really good place. But thank you all for being with me on this journey. And I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I do know that I kind of enjoy being able to exercise this muscle. There's a couple of people. My homegirl, Rocky from Wild Nights with Rocky, she has guests on her show, but she'll begin each show with a little story. She might write something. She's got an amazing voice, and she's honestly one of the most talented fucking people that I have the pleasure of being able to call a friend of mine, you know? So I love listening to her show, and I really appreciate all the good influence and inspiration that I have in my life. And you see it around, right? You see your friends on social media. You see people. For me, for example, I'm in fitness, and I'm a fitness professional, and I care about it. It's something that I when I'm going to sleep, I'm like, this is going to help me be well rested, so I can be a good coach to be there for people, to help people be better. This is going to help me be well rested so I can train hard and come in there and fucking dominate. This is going to, I drink water, I stay hydrated, I do all this shit because it just feeds into the thing that I love, right? And you see all the inspiration out there, and I see people that are doing their thing, and it makes me so happy to see people that I know and people that I don't know just like kind of like pursuing the shit they want to do. I love it because it inspires you, right? Like, if you're looking at people and you're hating on them, like, you got to reevaluate your position, right? Because when I look at motherfuckers that are successful and doing well, I think to myself, that can be me and that will be me, right? I'm going to endure the hard times. I'm going to endure the cold. I'm going to feel that fucking, when that wintertime cold wind hits your face and your face hurts. It's so fucking cold. That's the kind of shit. That's what I think about it as. Because one day is going to be nice and still and warm, and you're going to feel that sun on your skin, and that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It makes it that much better when you can enjoy, you could appreciate the fact that you struggled a little bit. Now, I don't want to struggle all the time, right? Every now and then you're like, yo, what the fuck? Like, something's got to give. Like, I've lost so many times. Can I catch a win? You know what I mean? Like, how many times? But you got to sit tight. And I got to take my own advice, right? Yo, there's weeks where mad people listen to the podcast. Mad people. And then there's weeks where, like, yo, 3 people download the shit. And I'm like, yo, I've been putting it out for a long time. I get tired of hearing myself talk too, And it just is what it is. But am I going to stop? Probably not. Am I going to talk shit about potentially stopping? Yeah, on occasion. Of course I am on occasion. Because we all get there. I in my everyday life, when I'm like having a rough day, I'm just like, not all the time, but on occasion, I'll just be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I doing this for? We all get there. But 2023, new year coming in. You got goals. You got shit you want to attack. Attack that shit, man. Because honestly, the world is fucking nuts. You don't know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to start cooking. I'm going to start wearing all the shit I like to wear. I'm going to start getting rid of shit I don't need. Just purging, getting rid of, I I feel like the older I'm getting, not that I'm old, and I don't want to be one of those people, oh, the older I get, da, 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 da. But, you know, the more time I've spent on this fucking planet, in this world, and in this body, and in this life, I've just kind of have been learning how more and more to be myself. How more and more to be okay with the things about myself that piss me off. You know, like sometimes I just want to make sure that everybody's happy. You can't do that all the time, right? Fuck, I'm going to try, but you know, you just can't, right? You got to take care of yourself. You got to speak up for yourself. You gotta be your own fucking consultant, your own spokesperson. You gotta have your back, and appreciate the good people in your life. But I'm in a good fucking mood right now. You know what it is? Because I'm not having this tea. I bought some tea a couple weeks ago. I know I might have mentioned it. It smells good, tastes like nothing. Right? You ever walking around in New York City and you pass the Nuts for Nuts stand and you're like, damn, that shit smells so fucking good. And then you go get a bag of nuts and it's disappointing. Now, on occasion, you would catch a good bag and you'd be like, damn, this is my stand now. I go to this stand every time. I'll look for this stand. This stand is on the corner of 37th and 6th. And then one day you go to 37th and 6th and the fucking guy's not there. He's not there. And what do? You go to another stand, you get the nuts, they smell good, they don't taste like anything, you're disappointed, right? Nobody deserves that. Listen, everybody, I'm going to get the hell out of here because I've been blabbering for a long time. But what I want to say is thank you all for listening to my show religiously. I it doesn't take a lot for me to make this happen other than me kind of just sitting down and just going. This has been Mr. Krabs. And I'm signing off, and I hope you have a great day, and maybe go get a pedicure or something. I don't know. All right, later.